As I've worked through Module 3, I have found some tips on how to make Google Sheets. You use it to your best ability. I also looked on lido.com and found some more tips, so I'm going to talk about 4 tips I've found to use Google Sheets as effectively as possible. The first one is about borders on cells. So when you're doing your Google Sheets, when you're making cells, sometimes it's hard to distinguish different things from each other. And one way that I've found is a really effective way of distinguishing things from each other is to add a colored border to the side, or even if it's just black, like make it like 2-point font, like just making a border around a group of cells or an individual cell to separate it from other information on the document. Another tip that I found that is very important is to change the length of the cells so that when you're writing information, if it's longer than the cell, then it's important to change the length of the cell so that there's not information that's being hidden behind the cell next to it. And that makes it so that the cell can be just long enough that it can fit, or as long as you want it to be. And it can look a little bit cleaner, especially if you're going over a long space, like a bunch of cells. A good tip I found on Lido is that when you're making a worksheet and you want people to fill it out, you can limit their options of what they can put in it by adding a drop-down box. So you can put a drop-down box and then put in the answers that you want them to choose from, and that kind of makes it like a multiple choice question without using too much space. It can just be a drop-down box. And then the last tip I found is that you can actually use Google Translate to translate the document, and you can get the information in one column and then translate it to the column next to it in a different language so that people who speak all different languages can read your document, and you don't have to make multiple documents for people of different languages. It can all be on the same document. There's a lot of tips on how to use Google Sheets effectively, but those are just 4 that I found.